So welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Brad. You're watching Firewood at the Furnace. If it's your first time here, we'd like to welcome you. And if you're coming back, we certainly appreciate all the continued support from our subscribers. So what's in store today is that we've got this load of maple and ash that you saw us bring in last week with a big tree service load. And we're going to buck all that up today. And I've also been working around here kind of behind the scenes this past week. And I'm going to give you a little walk around and show you what we're getting accomplished and what the plan is moving forward. So stick around. So here's what's been going on here this past week or so. I've realized that spring is coming and that the grass is going to be growing here soon. And when I start having to haul wood out of here in the fall, this row right here is where it's all going to be coming from, and it's pretty clogged up right now from the work we've done over the winter. So if you see down there all the way in the back, that used to be a total mess down there with scraps and everything else on it. So I've spent some time down there picking up scraps, raking up piles of scraps, and hauling them into the woods. So that's starting to get a little bit more cleaned up. There's still some chunks down there that I'm going to have to break apart to put in my IBC totes that I sell for boiler wood, bonfire wood, what have you. But what we've also gotten done is right here where this big load of oak was. We bucked that up a couple weeks ago that you didn't get to see, but that's all been processed, split and stacked, and it's out of the way now. This big load of poplar that was sitting right here that we cut up last week with the 460, or just the other day you saw it with the 460, all that has been split up and processed and stacked. There's still some nasty chunks, some gnarly stuff, a few good rounds still laying over here that we need to get to. But that's a big bulk of space that we freed up here. I've cleaned up all the area down along the outside of row 4. And I'll walk you down here between these two rows and show you what we're getting done down here in the bottom. With all these IBC totes that I had, the tank bladders have kind of just been in the way. It's about time for the roofing material to come off the wood. I'm pretty sure the snow's over now. I sure hope it is. But March is a tricky month. Sometimes March can be like spring and sometimes it can be like January. But these sheets that you're seeing right here, they blew off in the wind the other day when I was here. Had to take off running and get out of the way, but we filled up these extra IBC totes here. You remember there was just 2 at the end of each row, so there's 3 here now. There's 4 at the end of this row, and we've got 6 full of chunks and boiler wood over here at the end of row 1. We've filled up 2 more down here, and there's an empty one laying right there. Well, what my plan is here moving forward with these tank bladders is that I'm going to cut them up. I did a little test last week to see if the trash man would take them, and I didn't just put the whole bladder out, but what I'm doing is I'm cutting the tops off of them, and then I'm cutting down all 4 corners and folding them down flat. And I set 3 of them out for our trash man this past week, and he took them. So I think I'm just going to do a little bit at a time and gradually get rid of those. I did advertise on Facebook for anybody that had a use for these empty bladders, and I've got somebody that wants a few of them, but not all of them. And I'm going to be getting some more totes here soon, so I just want to get this cleaned up and out of the way also. My kindling bin is doing good. Haven't had any problems with rain getting in there, and we've got a lot of boiler wood and scrap and chunks here. So I'm gonna have to come up with a plan to try to start getting rid of that. We spoke about that once before, but here's this oak load that we cut up is all stacked in row 2. A little over a cord of oak. I put all the poplar over there on the end of row 4 where there's some empty space. This is all campfire wood here, and then we've got a couple face cord of black walnut here that's all really well seasoned. That's ready to go. But spring's coming, and we got to start concentrating on cleaning up some of the mess around here. So that's kind of what I'm doing behind the scenes. let's get the saws fired up and we'll start bucking up this other load. Figure we'll run to 261 for a little bit this morning. All right, so we got a nice little stack of wood started there. We're getting into a couple of the larger pieces here, so I think I'm going to get the 460 clone out and get them out of the way, and then maybe we'll go back to the 261 for the smaller stuff. 261, perfect for that stuff, and the reason why is because it's so light, and it's got good power to weight ratio, and I can run that saw all day easily. But getting through the bigger stuff, it would do it, but it's going to take a little longer. If I can warm up the 460, probably in about 5 minutes, I'll be through 3 or 4 of these great big logs here. So let's get that warmed up and we'll see how that does today. Well, the 460 had another little bit of work today. Still ran good. So far she's holding together. I'm still not happy with the oiler. The chain is pretty dry. So what I'm probably going to do is get a OEM oiler for it, or one of those high output oilers, and see if that helps, because that chain's just running too dry for my taste anyway. The one that came with it, it's turned all the way up, and it's still not getting enough oil on that chain. But anyway, here's what we ended up with. Got that load cut up. Pretty nice looking stuff. All ash and maple. It's mostly ash. I'd say probably 60 to 70% ash and the rest is maple. So that's probably a cord or a little over a cord once I get it split and stacked. And here's where the load used to be. So we opened up a little bit of space. Now some of you are probably saying, why in the world do you move all that wood, pick it up and stack it up when you can just cut it and leave it lay? Well, I do that for 2 reasons. First of all, it keeps it out of my way and out from under my feet. I found that when I'm cutting these piles of logs up, eventually you run out of room, then you're stepping over stuff, and as you get tired you start tripping over stuff. And I just think that if you can get it out of your way, and it's not that far, it's right next to where I was cutting. A lot of the bigger stuff I just rolled over. I had to pick a rune out, picking it up and putting it on the pile. But I just find if you get it out of your way, it works. It's a lot safer anyway. And reason number 2 is tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to come in here with this log splitter and I'll back it right down next to this pile, and I won't have to walk at all to go from place to place to pick up all these rounds. So that's why I do it that way. Kind of started doing it that way the last couple loads, but this time I told myself I'm just going to take the time and do it, and it worked out a lot better. What do you think about all this sawdust? Some nice looking wood chips, and there's a lot of them. Looks pretty good. The wind's blowing, and yes, I have my safety glasses on, because that's what got me last time, are these wood chips blowing in the wind. So I'll have to get all that raked up too. So that's going to do it for today. Thanks for everybody for sticking around. Watched the 460 run a little bit, and the 271, or correction, the 261 ran good as well. I can honestly tell you at this point, of the 4 saws that I have, being the 261, the 360, the 460 clone, and the 660 clone, if I could have just 2 saws, if I only had 2 saws, I would keep that 261 and I would keep the 460. The 460 I feel like is plenty of saw for the bigger stuff. It's a lot lighter than the 660, and the 261 just for general firewood size logs, cutting firewood, is perfect. So I don't know if anybody out there watching this contemplating on what saw to buy next, but the 261 and the 460 I feel like is a perfect combination to do a little bit of everything. That wind's really blowing. Just about blew the tripod over. But anyway, thanks you all for joining us. Watch some of these videos over here on the side if you haven't seen those. I hope you enjoyed another installment of First Fridays, your extra video for the month. As you know, I put out a video every week, but I put one up on the first Friday of every month, and we have our live stream on the last Thursday of every month. So have a great week, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends about the channel, and we will see you next time.